Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's episode 17 of Keeping the Faith with Kim. I took a few weeks off. This summer has been incredible here in Oklahoma. It's also been very hot. This Pittsburgh girl is not used to this hot weather. But I just took a few weeks off, spend some time with family, go on a few trips. But I'm back and we're going to shift gears. We had really been having some incredible interviews with people over the last few weeks, and those are still going to come. But right now, I want to spend a few weeks talking about something that's really important to me, and that is self worth, body image. You know, God has called me, number one, to start this podcast. I really felt called to share his word with everyday Christians, just like me, who are trying to figure out how do we live like him? And the other thing he's really placed upon my heart is sharing my own struggles with body image and body dysmorphia and eating disorders. It's something I've struggled with my whole life. And right now I'm in the process of writing a 30-day devotional to help people who struggle with this, just like I do and I have. And so I want to take a few weeks to really dive into our worth, our value, our body image, our self esteem. Because I really feel like, when I stepped out of the role of theology teacher after 21 years into the role of helping people with their gut health and helping people heal from the inside out, one of the things I realized is most of the people that came to me didn't truly want to get healthy. Just like me for 47 years, they just wanted to get skinny. And so over the first couple years in my business, God was just working in my heart saying, listen, you didn't go through what you went through, your eating disorder, your body dysmorphia, for nothing. I didn't lead you to this health and wellness industry for nothing. I've had a purpose and I've had a plan. And now I'm finally starting to see and answer that call. And it starts with a couple podcast episodes, I think. So here's what I want to do. There's been three quotes recently that have been, oh my goodness. Like, when you hear something and it's just like, like it speaks to your heart. You hear it in a way that, like, you could read the scripture, you could have somebody tell you that some of the things you are doing aren't right, but then all of a sudden you read this one line, you hear this one thing, and you're like, oh my gosh, that was so powerful yet so simple. Those are a few of the things I want to share with you today. Here's one that when I was reading a bunch of different blogs, I read this line, and forgive me for not truly remembering where I read this, but whoever you are that wrote this, amazing line. And I want to make sure I get it right. She said, I know it was a young woman and she was experiencing her own body dysmorphia, self-image issues. And she said, are you going to define beauty by the world or by the word? Wow. Y'all, for 47 years, I let the world define my beauty. I mean, I knew what God said. I was teaching theology. I was standing in front of my students every single day, telling them exactly what God says about them and how he sees them. I was telling them, hey guys, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, he tells you you were created in his image and likeness. I knew that. I knew that in Proverbs 31:30, it says that beauty is fleeting. I know what his word says, but in my mind, there was a hiccup because the voices in the world were strong. And so the question that I pose to you, those of you that are listening, whether you struggle with eating disorders or whether you just have a self-image, self-worth issue, are you letting the world define that for you, or are you letting his word? In his word, he tells us in Ephesians 2:10, we are his masterpiece. We don't need a number on the scale to tell us that. We don't need a title of a job to tell us that. We don't need an award to tell us that, a GPA to tell us that, an acceptance letter from a certain college to tell us that. He tells us we are his masterpiece. He tells us we were created in his image and likeness. And that's where our value and worth comes from. He doesn't say you're only valuable and you're only worthy if you attend this college, if you are the leading scorer on your team, if you have this job title, if you weigh this amount. No, I created you in my image and likeness. Period. End of story. Drop the mic. There are no ifs, ands, and buts. And in my self-image journey, it was hard for me to stop hearing the voices of the world telling me that this is what you're supposed to look like. This is what a perfect body looks like. You're supposed to be flawless. You're supposed to be, I remember years ago watching Oprah, and I remember her saying on one of her shows, calling a size 10 a plus size. And I remember that having such a profound impact on me. At that time in my life, I was a size 12. So I was thinking, oh my gosh, Oprah just said that a size 10 is plus size. We often let the world speak value and worth to us. It's truly time, if you want to shift your focus, to turn to his word instead of the world. There are so many scriptures that tell us and speak to us about how he sees us, how he loves us, how he created us. And that pales into comparison to anything that the world could say. Another quote that really stood out to me recently was, your worth isn't determined by your waistline. Whew. Wow. I cannot tell you how many times my worth was determined by my waistline. Whether it was the number on the scale, whether it was, like I said, the clothes, the size I was buying. The world is constantly showing us and telling us what we're supposed to look like. And, if we want our body image, our self-esteem, our value, and our self-worth to change, we really have to step back and say, how are we defining that? How are we defining, in my case, beauty? How are we defining success? How are we defining worthiness or value? And a lot of us right now, we're so confused because social media bombards us with, well, if you're getting this many likes or if you have this many followers, that's success. Or if you're making this much money, check out this guy on Instagram and look at the amount of money he's making in his business. That's success. Then if you're doing that, you're valuable, you're worthy. Look at this person and how skinny and tiny and flawless and perfect they are. and look at all the amazing opportunities they're getting in their life because that's how they look. That's beauty. That's not how God wants us to define beauty. He knows every hair on our head. He loves us as we are, perfectly imperfect. It has nothing to do with a number on the scale, like I said, or a job title or a GPA. When we get up to heaven one day, he's not going to ask any of those questions. He's not going to say, were you the prom king or queen? Were you the star on the football team? No. He's not going to say, did you always fit into your jeans? He's not going to say, were you the most successful person in your company? He's going to say, did you love me? And did you love others? Because truly, that's what I created you to do. And we have to start seeing ourselves the way God sees us. He doesn't see our worth coming from a waistline. He doesn't see our worth coming from a title. He doesn't see our worth coming from anything other than Him. And when we really shift our focus from seeing ourselves like the world sees us and seeing ourselves like He sees us, I'm telling you, you show up in the world a little bit different, a whole lot differently. You show up with such a confidence, knowing that even if you don't get the best grade that day, or you put on a little extra weight this month, or you lose a job or you're laid off, that none of that has anything to do with your worth or your value. He sees beyond that. So learning how to see ourselves the way God sees us. And for those of us in the body image issue world, knowing that our worth isn't just determined by our waistline. Another quote, finally, the last quote that really stood out to me is, we don't exist to solely lose weight and look pretty. And I know a lot of this is around body image and beauty, and that's the purpose, but I also do want to pull in other things too, because I know some of my listeners are out there, you're not dealing with the body image issue. But I think a lot of us show up every single day thinking that we're just supposed to, be a certain size and look pretty all the time. And we don't show up as our real selves. I mean, I am on this podcast right now. Those of you that are going to see me on YouTube, I didn't even wash my hair today. I pulled my hair up. It's pulled back. It is hot here in Oklahoma. This is me. I put a little bit of makeup on, but you're getting me in my tank top because it's too hot to put a shirt on that has sleeves. You're seeing me. And so many of us are so afraid to show up as the person God created us to be because the world says we've got to always be so put together and so airbrushed and look a certain way. And, and honestly, we're afraid to show our flaws and our brokenness and our imperfections, but gosh, there's so much beauty in those. And the fact that we're not sharing our brokenness, our imperfections, and our flaws with each other, we're doing all of us a disservice because we have this image out there of what it's supposed to be. And it's not truth. I used to tell my students all the time, listen, guys, you're trying to be like so-and-so. You're looking at that person and you're saying, oh my goodness, I wish I was as smart as that person, or I wish I was as athletic as that person, or I wish I was as pretty or as skinny as that person. Well, here's the thing. that person is looking at somebody else and saying the exact same thing. They're trying to be like so and so. You're trying to be like them, and they're not even truly being themselves because who we have forgotten that God created one of us. There's only one you. Why? I remember my friend saying this to me so many years ago. Why are you trying so hard to fit in when you were born to stand out? God gave each and every one of us so many gifts and talents, and so many of us are afraid to use those gifts and talents because what might somebody think? What if I show up looking like that? What will somebody think? What if I show up sharing my thoughts on this, but I'm not truly an expert? What would somebody think? God gave us so many amazing gifts and talents, and we are hiding them from other people because we are so afraid to be our authentic selves. God didn't create us for that. He created you to be exactly who you are. Be proud of who He created you to be, the gifts and talents He gave you. We weren't created. We don't solely exist to just be successful or just be wealthy or just be pretty or just be fit. We were created to be children of God in so many different ways. So as I close today, and if I kind of rambled a little bit, it's because this is such a topic that's near and dear to my heart. And honestly, y'all, it's something I still struggle with every single day. I will never be healed from my body image issues. I will never, ever be fully healed. But I am glad that I now turn to His word instead of the world in my moments of struggle. I am now grateful that I know that my worth comes from Him and not my waistline. And when those thoughts creep up, I know where to turn, back to His word. And I also know that I exist for so much more than losing weight and looking pretty, that He gave me so many gifts and talents to use. And I may not be an expert, but I'm on here sharing my heart with all of you because I feel like that's what He called me to do. So as you show up this week, you show up tomorrow, if any of those voices start coming into your head, making you think about your worth and your value, or question your worth and your value, do me a favor and dive into His word. Let His word remind you of your worth. Nothing else. Not the world. Not your waistline. Not your weight. Nothing else but Him and His word. And remember what He says in Psalm 139:14. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. He says that to you. He made you His masterpiece. He made you in His image and likeness. And when we start to truly embrace that, the chains will fall off. We will no longer live the way the world calls us to live or confuses us to live. We will live by His word, knowing truly where our value and worth comes from. Thank you all for hanging out with me today. Thank you for listening to me speak about a topic that's really near and dear to my heart. I have a Facebook group that I have recently started called Faith Driven Wellness. I am talking about holistic health and how, we are called to be healthy Yes, he wants us to take care of the body that we have. And I'm going to encourage all of us in that Facebook group to do that. So if you want, head over to Facebook, find Faith Driven Wellness, and join it. And I can help you on this journey. And I'm looking forward to, in the weeks to come, continuing to talk a little bit on this subject. Until next time, love them like Jesus.